Bonjour mon petit chiflet, Amber here. It is 10 o'clock, 10:21 in the morning. I've only been awake for an hour and 21 minutes, so if I seem a little down, it's because I am exhausted. Also, May is almost over, and I have yet to film my April wrap up. So that's what I'm going to do today. I didn't film a March wrap up because I think I read one book in March. That was when my brain was doing a lot of awful things. Not saying that it's not still doing awful things, but I'm able to read books again. Before I get started, I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Cindy over at Read with Cindy. She mentioned me in her one of her last small booktuber shout out, and one, thank you, I love you. I appreciate it so much. And also in the span of that time, so when did she post that video? So that was 2 weeks ago. So in the span of 2 weeks, I have gained another 100 subscribers, and I'm now at 350 subscribers as of right now. 352 subscribers. And that might not seem a lot to anybody, but that just means a lot to me, and I never thought I'd reach 300 subscribers. I've been tubing for like a long time now, but like mainly booktubing for maybe like a year or two. So thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you to everyone who has come over from her channel. Hi. I hope you don't regret this. Thank you. Okay, so in April, I read, oh Jesus, I read 7 books. One of them is an audiobook. Shockingly, because I also spent all of April writing. Another thing that was not possible the month or two prior. But that's a video for another day, which I keep saying I'm going to film, but I keep not doing it. First book that I finished in April, because I had started reading it in February, I think. And then, yeah, February, March, whatever. It took a whole month to read. And it was The Everlasting Rose by Danielle Clayton, which is the sequel to The Bells by Danielle Clayton. This book, if you don't know, The Bells is set in this magical, fantastical world of Orleans, where beauty is basically coveted above everything else. There is a set of girls called the Bells who have been created and blessed by the goddess of beauty. They control beauty in a world of the gris, who are like the regular people. Their skin is gray, which hints the gris, because I'm pretty sure that's how you say gray in French. Red eyes, straw, like crunchy hair. Bells are able to make them beautiful and basically make them look however they want, and the more beautiful you are, the more power you hold, basically. In the first book, Camellia, the main character, her main goal is to become the top belle, basically, and work for the royal family. And then a lot of drama happens, and she realizes the world that she lives in is not really the one she was taught, the one that was presented to her growing up, basically, and it's a lot darker and crueler than she thought. And this is the follow-up to that, obviously, and things just progressively get darker, and she is on a quest to basically protect and bring her sisters to safety, and while at the same time taking down the corrupt ruling party. I'm trying to say this without too many spoilers. So, like I said, I started reading this almost immediately after I got it. After it came out, I picked it up at the book launch. Finally got to meet Danielle. It's signed Amber, Weave a Wonderful Web. Danielle's great. I love her. And I tried reading it in March, but I couldn't write or read or really focus on anything throughout all of March. Like I said, a video for another time. And so I struggled my way through this book. Has nothing to do with the book. The book was great. Everything to do with me through until I finally finished it in the very beginning of April. That being said, because of all that, I know I'm going to have to reread this book because so much of reading it is like a fog. But I do know that once I kind of broke out of that and started really focusing on it, I really did enjoy the book. And I remember when I got to the end, I was like, okay, I need the third one now, please and thank you. This book is a lot darker than the first one. There's a lot of things thrown at me in the book. But I love the way Danielle writes. I love how vivid and I don't know why fragrant is the word that just came to my mind, but we're gonna go with it. This world is, I really do love Camille as a main character. When I read the first book, Adel was my favorite of the sisters, but I mean, okay. I mean, I get it, but whatever. I love Remy. Like I told Danielle, if she ever hurts, I will protect him with my life. Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna reread this at some point. I wasn't able to really give it a rating because I was, but great. So after that, as I was trying to still ease back into reading, I figured that poetry was the way to do it. I had 2 poetry books. I ended up ordering the third to complete the series. Figured that's something I could read quickly and easily. And are you serious? So I read the Women Are Some Kind of Magic series, poetry collection series by Amanda Lovelace, which is The Princess Saves Herself in this one, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one. I ordered this one when I decided I was finally going to read them, because it had just come out and I wanted to have the complete collection before I went into it. So these poetry collections are a series of poems, I don't know if that makes sense, about talk a lot about trauma, abuse, sexual assault, and I guess healing from that also. So also trigger warning. There is a trigger warning at the beginning of all of the books. There's a lot of heavy content in the books, but the poems are really beautiful and really moving, and I think these are some of my favorite poems that I've read in a really long time. Just the way the content is handled, and each book, it's not just a bunch of poems in a book, a bunch of like thoughts or a diary. It actually feels like a story, and each piece of the story moves forward and just makes the complete collection. I just really love it. I particularly love this one, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. It's very, very, I mean, they're all empowering, but it's very empowering and very feminist-y. I also love the Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. Burn whoever tries to burn you. That's a mood. Also, these are some random tidbits that I love. That each one has like a dedication to, well, the first 2 have a dedication to the book characters. The third one is like a dedication to herself, which I love. So the first one, let's open this. For the boy who lived. Thank you for inspiring me to be the girl who survived. You may have a lightning bolt to show for it, but my body is a lightning storm. We love Harry Potter. But in this one, we have, for the girl on fire, thank you for inspiring me to gently set the world alight. You may have a gown of flames, but those same flames run through my veins. I also really love, like personally for me, love the idea of dedicating your book to book characters that have inspired you, and that's totally an Amber move. Before I finish talking about these books, I want to read one of my faves. Since we're talking about my personal favorite books and characters, I wanted to read this one a lot. What? I don't know what I just said. This one is an homage to C.S. Lewis's book series, The Chronicles of Narnia. If you want to put on your very best dancing shoes, then do it. If you want to zip yourself into your golden apple ball gown, then do it. If you want to paint your face while you dream of all the cupid-shaped smudges you'll leave on mirrors for passerby to collect on their lips, then do it. You can do it all and still save yourself and the world for good measure. There's nothing stopping you from being both gentle and valiant, just and magnificent, or any combination you should ever long for. The reason they tell us we cannot have it all is because they fear we will become even more dangerous than we are, and we are already such forces to be reckoned with. Open up the wardrobe and step inside. When I got to the gentle and valiant, just and magnificent, because it was like King Peter the Magnificent, Queen Susan the Gentle, King Edmund the Valiant, and Queen Lucy. No, King Edmund the Just. I'm fake. And Queen Lucy the Valiant. Okay. After that, I read one of my most anticipated books of the year. Really, you could like take a shot every time I say that about a book. Don't, because I can't pay for your medical bills. But anyway, this was one of the top, I would say 3 of my most anticipated reads of the year. And it was Intermittent by Samir Ahmed. I am obsessed with this cover. Like, I love this cover so much. This is what initially drew me to this book. When I saw the cover, I think it was possibly on an Epic Reads post or something, and I gasped. I was like, what is this? When I saw I just saw like the barbed wire and just like the vibe of it, I was like, oh god, this is gonna mess me up. This one's also signed. I was doing a lot of I've been to a lot of book launches so far this year. I missed a few that I really wanted to go to, but I have BookCon to make up for that. Anyway, so this book is set 15 minutes into the future in an America where Muslims have been put into internment camps. And this is the story of Leila Amin, and her family has she and her family have just been put into an internment camp, and this is basically her story of surviving inside this camp and finding hope and learning to use her voice to resist this injustice that's been put upon her and a bunch of other innocent people. There are a lot of tabs. I have a lot of thoughts. I went into this knowing that this is going to be a hard book to read because it feels very, very real and like something that we are really teetering on the line of becoming. Listening to Samira speak about the book at the launch and just basically what led her to write it, what inspired her, and just all of the awful things that this country has done, is doing, possibly will do. It's hard. So I knew that this book was gonna be a tough one, and it definitely was. There were a lot of moments where I had to physically put the book down because it was making me like anxious, like, to the point where I was like clenching. All of my whole body was clenching. But the message of this book at the end of the day is basically, one, not being silent, but also, I guess, holding on to hope in awful situations. I think we can also take away from the book that even if we're not the people that are being oppressed, I'll say, if like at that particular moment, because in this country it could be you in a heartbeat, it's then our responsibility to use our voices and not, and then make that barrier between the fascists of this country and not use privilege to do what's right. I don't know what I'm saying. I've only been awake for an hour. But anyway, that being said, there was a lot that I feel like the plot was holding back a lot, and then I feel like the plot was holding back a lot, and that it was still a lot lighter than it could have been, if that makes sense. I also think that I wish that like the side characters, like her friends, I don't know where this cut off. Her friends inside the camp, I wish there was a little bit more of them, and that they were, I guess, used more when it came to the rebellion inside. I guess, well, I say that even though, never mind, read the book. I have a full review of this book on my blog, which I'll link down below, so if you want to read it and hear my thought, or if you want to really know my thoughts about this book in a more coherent way. So I think they were really great characters, but they could have been elevated a lot more. I think a lot more from actual life inside the camp could have been dived more into, and even the relationships between the other internees. I'm sure that there was a lot more, or there would have been more, I guess, clashes and negativity amongst people inside for whatever reason. When you're in a situation like that, emotions and anger and fear is heightened. So I also wish, I'm reading my blogs, I can remember my thoughts, that we had a little bit more of Leila's life before. But I guess, like I said in the blog post, I guess she didn't want to dwell too much on what she had lost, so I guess I get that to some degree. My neighbors are honestly so loud. But I did really like Leila. I admired her strength in the face of danger, and I like that she's angry and that she uses that anger. I mean, she does some stupid stuff in this book, but she's also 17, so we'll let it go. I loved her relationship with her parents. Yeah, for the most part, I really, really liked this book. I think it's very important. I know there's a lot of mixed reviews of the book. I know some people really didn't like it, but I did. And last but not least, after reading a bunch of like heavy stuff, intense stuff, I needed easy. I needed something I knew. I needed something light. I needed something that I could just read, you know, and just not stress about, even though that didn't work out too well. And I reread a book I've been saying I was going to reread for at least 2 years now. How did we get here? I reread Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. By now, by the time this goes up, I have already uploaded my rereading vlog of this. It's like 50 something minutes of just me stress reading this book. But I think it's entertaining, if I may say so myself. Twilight. I was a Twihard back in the day. I still think a little bit of Twihard resides in my heart. I still very much plan on visiting Forks at some point in the very near future, as well as like the other filming locations, Vancouver and what is it, Seattle? Something. I don't know. Whatever. Fun fact, I found out when I was in Canada last year, ooh, that hurts to say, that that opening scene in Eclipse was filmed in Steveston. So technically I've already been to one of the filming locations of the Twilight franchise, but if you don't understand why that means something to me, Steveston is the little town in Vancouver where majority of Once Upon a Time was filmed for like the first 6 seasons of the show. Storybrooke, it's the town that they live in. So, and if you don't know, that's my favorite show. I have 2 Once Upon a Time tattoos. I love that show with my whole heart. I meet Lana and Bex, Regina and Zelina, and Jared, Henry, next month again. And I'm stoked about that. So, anyway, so that's something, I never knew that. So that's like 2 of my worlds coming together, and that's wild. So, what was I saying? Oh, I was a Twihard. I reread this series a lot, actually, because I mentioned this in the vlog, that a lot of the time when I would read a series, every time I'd start a new book, like if there was like a significant time between the 2 books, I'd reread the series, basically. I've done that with a lot of book series. I'm trying to like get out of that and just read the next book. But I used to do that with The Hunger Games. Then I used to reread the series because I couldn't just read the book that went with the movie. I just had to reread the series every time a new movie came out. So I don't know, I can't math, so but I've read the books at least more than 5 times because there are 5 movies. But I don't know, I never really vibed with Twilight as much as the rest of the books. And it got to the point where every time I'd reread it, I'd skip the first book and just go to New Moon because I'm Team Jacob. Conversation for another day. I'll probably, whenever I do my New Moon reread vlog. But I reread this. Bella Swan is still irritating. Edward, I really remembered him being a lot more charming than he was. And I don't ever see me ever claiming Team Edward, ever. I mean, obviously I did in the first one because I didn't have options. And even actually as we went on, there were some moments where I'm like, I'm Team Jacob, but like I don't hate Edward, but I kind of hate Edward. I love Robert Pattinson though. This book, I have a lot of thoughts. All my thoughts are in my vlog, so I'm not gonna rant about Twilight. Just know I read it, and I'll be reading New Moon eventually. So those are the books that I read in April. Yes, in April. I'm currently in the middle of reading for the Asian Readathon, which is hosted by Read with Cindy, and I've just finished the 2nd book for that. I'm kind of trying to put a dent in the group book. I don't know, I don't need to talk about that right now. Yes, those are the books I read in April. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give this a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.